This is a primary update from News 19, your local election headquarters.
Polls are closed. Results are rolling in. News 19 has you covered for all the big races this evening. Thank you for joining us. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Greg Screws.
I'm Emily Forrester. Whether it's the race for U.S. Senate, governor, or even down to county sheriffs, News 19 is here to bring you the results of tonight's primary elections. We do have crews all over the state, from Huntsville to Florence, all the way down in Montgomery, covering the biggest races of the night for you. We will be checking in with each reporter throughout the next hour and a half.
Yeah, so get comfortable. We got a lot we're going to bring you. Let's start with the governor's race, where things stand right now. Kay Ivey has 56% of the vote at this point. We'll get those back up there for you, but she seems to be the heavy favorite to keep her seat at this point of the evening.
But the big question remains, can she avoid a runoff?
News 19 State Capitol reporter Maddie Beertemple spoke with an Ivey supporter at her campaign watch party tonight. Maddie.
Hi, good evening. We're here at the Renaissance Hotel in Montgomery. There's about 40 to 50 supporters of Governor Kay Ivey here so far. Ivey herself has not arrived yet, but I did speak with some supporters about why they say that she's earned their vote. One supporter earlier tells me that he wants to see another 4 years of Ivey. He thinks that she's done a good job leading the state through a pandemic, and he wants to hear a positive message from her tonight about the future of this state.
I definitely want to see a lot more of our conservative values not only spread across the state but spread across the country, because I just see our country going in a negative direction, and I think that Kay Ivey can do a lot to help with that and help turn it around.
Now, like I said, Ivey is expected to make remarks a little bit later tonight. She will also potentially address that shooting that happened in Texas. She put out a statement earlier saying that she was heartbroken by it, and we'll have more whenever she gives remarks later tonight. In Montgomery, Maddie Beertemple, CBS 42 News. Local coverage you can count on.
All right, thank you, Maddie. Well, Republican gubernatorial candidate Lindy Blanchard has held a steady third place in recent polling results for this race.
So the question tonight, can she surpass Tim James to possibly face incumbent Kay Ivey in a runoff election? And Next Star Nation's Chloe Vincenti joins us live from the Blanchard campaign in Montgomery County. Chloe.
Good evening. Lindy Blanchard has said that Huntsville has a special place in her heart. Her family has roots there. She's campaigned there. And tonight here in Montgomery County, she is here at her watch party talking with supporters, hoping that she can take Ivey into a runoff election. Now, it would be a lot for any of these candidates to beat Ivey, but one area where Blanchard is coming out on top is money. According to political analyst Steve Flowers, she spent an unprecedented $10 million on her campaign. Blanchard served as the U.S. ambassador to Slovenia during former President Donald Trump's time in office. She was originally in the Senate race and dropped her bid to join the governor's race. During her campaign, she's put a focus on education reform, border control, and supporting small business. Now, the big question tonight is going to be if she can surpass Tim James and then face Ivey in that runoff election if that happens. For now, live in Montgomery County, Chloe Vincenti. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Chloe. Now, Tim James also hoping to get into a runoff with Governor Kay Ivey.
Next Star Nation's Lillian Lalo joins us live for an update. Lillian.
All right, guys. Well, good evening. The energy here is certainly lively. Lots of people are here tonight. It's sounding to me like it's much bigger than Governor Kay Ivey's race just down the road. But Tim James he's running for the third time, and he's saying this third time is definitely the charm. His father, Fob James, was governor in the 70s and again in the mid-90s. And if elected governor, I asked him about how he plans to develop that relationship that is so important within our state legislature.
But I'm extremely optimistic that 65% of the people that are serving in our party, given strong leadership, will come on board and get involved and really get turned on to fix pieces of this state that are broken, including mental health, our education, Earmarking of our tax dollars is crazy. We need one budget, just common sense things to make this state work better.
Are the ones that will really have the greatest influence on the legislature. He says issues like mental health and education are really broken in our state. Now, if James does end up in a runoff with incumbent Governor Kay Ivey, he does consider that a win this evening. He is currently watching the results tonight come in from his hotel room. For now, we're live in Montgomery. I'm Lillian Lalo. We'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Lillian. The governor's race, one of several high-impact races in Alabama this evening.
For some analysis of this race, News 19's Jerry Hayes is joined by political analyst Jay Town and David Person with some insight.
Guys, once again, good to have you back in the studio with us on this primary election day. Let's go ahead and talk about the race for governor right now. And David and I were talking a little bit behind the scenes about the Democratic candidates and how they're running right now. But on the Republican side, Kay Ivey right now with 26% of the precincts reporting in the lead with almost 57%. So at this point, if it was over right now, she would go into the race without a runoff.
Yeah, and that percentage has held steady when we had early returns at 7%, at 11, at 12, and now here we are at what, 26% or something like that. And so she has been just sort of garnering about 3 out of every 5 votes, and that's going to be enough to avoid a runoff, which I know that Governor Ivey would prefer to do.
Let's talk about the Democratic ticket right now, David, because you got Yolanda Flowers, who is an educator that you were telling me a little bit early. She right now has roughly 36%, a little less than 36%, and Sanders Fortier right at 31%. So we would be facing, those two would be facing each other in a runoff at this point coming up on June 21st.
Yeah, and it would be very interesting if that's how it plays out, because Miss Sanders Fortier is the daughter of Hank Sanders, longtime state senator, very well known in Selma and the Black Belt, and has been really a political powerhouse in our state. And so he brings, you know, of course, to his daughter's campaign, a certain amount of heft. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens if they end up in a runoff.
I don't know what kind of money that Flowers or Sanders Fortier has spent on their campaign to get to this point. But on the Republican side, Brian Lawson and I were talking a little bit earlier. Kay Ivey raised roughly $9 million. And last week alone, she spent $1 million. And then when you look at Blanchard and Mike Durant, they both loaned their campaigns each more than $9 million.
Yeah.
And neither one of them right now, at this point, if Kay Ivey's lead holds up, neither one of those are going to be in a runoff with her.
Well, and those two candidates are upside down, right? If they don't make a runoff where they can eventually go on to win, they owe more money to their campaign than their campaign has to spend. So that's an inauspicious place to be for a candidate. And, you know, really, and I think David would agree, when you can get those $25 checks, those $100 checks, not the big $2,900 or $10,000 checks in a state race, those are votes. Those are, people are vested with $25 or $2,500, it doesn't matter. And when you forego that sort of fundraising, and because you can self-fund, and God bless her, Lindy Blanchard's a good person, and she has done very well, her family's done well. And so she's self-funded, but it doesn't vest voters. When they write a check for $25, they know who they're voting for when they stroke that check. Yeah. And that is one of the downsides that I think Durant and Blanchard have seen, at least in their fundraising efforts.
David, I'll give you a little time to respond.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, Kay Ivey, no matter what you think about her politics, you agree or disagree, nobody can dispute the fact that she is probably one of the savviest politicians in the history of Alabama. And I say that because she's a woman who has moved up the ranks of the Republican Party, not the most, you know, pro-woman party, at least from my standpoint, from my vantage point. Mm-hmm. And she has moved from Secretary of State to Lieutenant Governor to being reelected now as governor. She's a smart, savvy woman. And you can't just outspend her. It's going to take more than that. And I think that's what Jay is saying. You've got to connect with voters. And again, whether you agree with her politics, and I don't, but I certainly respect her as a politician, and I understand she knows how to connect with voters.
Interesting insight, guys. Thank you very much. And we'll have more with Jay Town and David Person throughout the evening. Greg,
right.
Emily?
Thank you, guys. We'll check back with you in just a few minutes. Now, a lot of eyes are on the race for the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate here in Alabama.
So obviously people want to know if it's going to be Katie Britt, Mo Brooks, or Mike Durant. And News 19 has reporters at all three campaign watch parties tonight. We'll check in with them in just a few minutes. But first, let's get a look at some of the other races this evening, what we've got going on. This would be the Democratic side running for governor. Yolanda Flowers with the lead right now with 37% of the vote. Republican for Secretary of State. We'll check in with those Secretary of State results right there. This would be Jim Ziegler with 43% of the vote, Wes Allen 39% of the vote, 18% of the vote in.
And looking at the Republican primary for Attorney General here in Alabama, it looks like Steve Marshall is in the lead with 86,000 votes, leading by 75,000 votes, with 20% of the precincts reporting. Of course, he is the incumbent, so we'll keep you updated on that race. And Republican primary for state auditor, we have some results on that for you on our website, WHNT.com, and scrolling across the bottom of your screen. We'll be here with you for the next 49 minutes here on North Alabama's CW, and we'll have more results for you when we come back. Welcome back. News 19 is your local election headquarters, and we're continuing our coverage for you tonight. Arguably, the biggest race of today on the ballot for the primary election is the Republican race for U.S. Senate. So we are looking at some results here. It's looking like Katie Britt is up there with 46%, followed by Mo Brooks with 28%, and Mike Durant with 23%. Now, right now, 35% of the precincts are reporting, so these results, of course, will change throughout the night. And to avoid a runoff, of course, one candidate would need 50% of the vote plus one vote in order to avoid that. So it's not looking like that at this point. But again, those results are still coming in tonight.
All right. A recent Emerson College, The Hill News 19 poll ahead of Election Day put the Republican Senate candidate Katie Britt just ahead of the other candidates.
The 40-year-old is running on a platform of Christian conservative values. So News 19's Emily Mosner is live in Montgomery tonight at Britt's election watch party. Emily, you spoke with Britt on the campaign trail. So what else have you learned about her platform?
That's right, guys. I covered her visit to Morgan County in April. I had the chance to talk with her personally and learn a little bit more about her platform. She says, in addition to Christian conservative values, she told me she wants to put Alabama first. Now, I asked her what putting Alabama first means to her.
It is knowing the state, knowing how great it is, knowing its people. I believe we have a great state with great people. We have a great story to tell. We need someone who's going to go to D.C. to not only fight for our values, but fight for opportunity for hardworking Alabamians.
Now, I also asked her what are some of the first issues she would tackle if elected. She said she wanted to focus first on, quote, sealing and securing the border. She also said she wanted to focus on balancing the budget and talk about government spending. Now, again, I am here live in Montgomery at her watch party. The room is starting to fill up. You can see behind me there's quite a few supporters out here, and we are awaiting her to take the stage. Someone came out just a couple minutes ago and told us that it's likely she'll come out and talk to us in the next 20 minutes or so. So stay with us here on News 19 as we do await word from her tonight. But for now, I'm live in Montgomery. Emily Moser, News 19.
All right, thank you, Emily. Mike Durant, like a lot of Republican candidates across the country, has established his support of former President Donald Trump. And what Donald Trump says this is America First agenda.
And Durant's platform in many ways lines up with that of the former president. News 19's Kayla Smith is live at the Durant election night party here in Huntsville with more. Kayla?
That's right. While on the campaign trail, Mike Durant touted a three-point political platform that includes securing the southern border, establishing energy independence, and maintaining a strong military. Durant says he is pro-life and pro-Second Amendment. He opposes the implementation of additional COVID-19 mandates and the censorship of free speech from big tech companies. If elected, Durant says one of his first goals in office would be addressing southern border security.
We all agree the wall needs to be built. That we need to get going right away. That we call that in the military a 5-meter target. It's right there. We've got the materials. We have the design. We just got to get it back underway. Finish the job, because border security is critical for all the issues I think most voters know about: drugs, crime, illegal aliens, burden on taxpayers. The border states are being overwhelmed. All those things. So that would be the first thing.
Since he arrived here at his watch party, Durant has been moving amongst the crowd, talking to the people in attendance and signing copies of his book. When asked how he feels about tonight, despite polling in third place currently, he says he still feels good about the potential outcome for the evening. Reporting live from the Durant watch party, Kayla Smith, News 19.
Thank you, Kayla. Now, Mo Brooks' campaign did take a hit when former President Donald Trump pulled his endorsement of the congressman back in March.
News 19's Madison Neal is at the Mo Brooks watch party tonight and joins us live. So, Madison, how much did that endorsement matter for Brooks as it sits right now in this election?
Greg, Mo Brooks is a 6-term congressman who's really banking on his long history with Alabama voters to help him overcome that feud with Trump. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that, here's a recap. Trump initially endorsed Brooks last year, rewarding the conservative who whipped up a crowd of Trump supporters at the January 6, 2021 Stop the Steal rally preceding the U.S. Capitol insurrection. According to Brooks, former President Trump asked him to rescind the 2020 election, but Brooks said this was not an action that was legally possible, and instead he said Republicans should put their efforts into winning upcoming elections. The former president pulled his endorsement, but much of Brooks' early campaign foundation relied on it. Now, despite losing Trump's backing, Brooks continues to run as MAGA Mo, invoking Trump's Make America Great Again slogan. Meanwhile, Brooks' opponents Katie Britt and Mike Durant took the focus off of Brooks, spending millions on campaign attack ads on each other until just a few days ago. There weren't TV ads highlighting Trump's rejection of Brooks, and Brooks' campaign saved up for a final push of ads to run in the last month of the race. When asked about losing the former president's endorsement, Brooks had this to say.
I believe that every endorsement matters, and certainly President Trump's endorsement is a bonus. But at the same time, the people of Alabama, they're conservative, particularly in a Republican primary, and they're looking at the difference in the records. I have one, the other candidates do not. None of the other candidates have held public office before. I have. That's a defining difference.
Now, Trump has not made a new endorsement in this race, but both Britt and Durant maintain that they would be the superior choice for Trump's endorsement if a runoff does happen. We'll continue to keep you updated tonight from Mo Brooks' watch party in Huntsville, Alabama. Reporting live, Madison Neal, News 19.
All right, thank you, Madison. We have several more races to get to tonight.
Yeah, we'll get an update on the race for Alabama's Senate District 2 seat in just a couple minutes, plus more. Stay with us. Welcome back. Dozens of Alabama legislature seats are also up for grabs this election cycle, and that includes 13 in the state Senate.
And two familiar faces once again battling it out for one of those spots. And News 19's Christine Killemeyer joins us now in the studio to break down one of the more closely watched state Senate races.
Yeah, Greg, Emily, in District 2, Tom Butler and Bill Holtzclaw seesawing back and forth with this Senate seat. Butler, the current District 2 senator, is running for re-election on today's ballot. But the Republican narrowly won that spot in the 2018 midterms, and he took over the role after Holtzclaw chose not to run 4 years ago. Now, Holtzclaw served District 2 from 2010 until 2018, opting not to run after his 2 terms in office, following his own campaign promise of self-imposed term limits. But when Holtzclaw took over the role, he beat out Butler for the job. Butler, then a Democrat, was the District 2 senator from 1994 to 2010. He then switched parties in 2011. As for spending in this current campaign, both candidates really started to open their wallets in March. Butler spent nearly $53,000 2 months out. Then in April, he shelled out nearly $214K, and this month he surpassed that, spending more than $227,000. His challenger, much more frugal in this race. In March, Holtzclaw spent more than $4,100. In April, that number dropped to less than $2,700, and he ramped it up this month, dropping nearly $15,500 on his campaign. So here's how that race is looking so far. Butler with a decided edge, with nearly 66% of the precincts reporting. We'll, of course, continue to monitor this throughout the evening. And while the faces in this office haven't changed much over the last 28 years, the district itself has. District 2 now includes parts of Madison and Limestone counties, most of the city of Madison, and parts of Huntsville. Whoever wins tonight will go on to face Democratic candidate, political newcomer, and Huntsville businesswoman Kim Lewis in November. Emily?
All right, thank you, Christine. It looks like Republican Attorney General Steve Marshall has been re-elected. The AP calling this race. We've got more results for you at 9:30. Welcome back. We are continuing to track election results from across the state as vote totals continue to pour in.
All eyes remain on the Republican race for the U.S. Senate as three frontrunners try to get the nomination to try and win Richard Shelby's seat. So let's give you the latest numbers on that. Katie Britt, 45% of the vote. Mo Brooks at 29%, Mike Durant at 23%, 46% of the vote in at this point. We'll keep you posted on as more returns come in. Starting to the candidate who was the early favorite to replace retiring Alabama Senator Richard Shelby is Congressman Mo Brooks from Huntsville, who hopes to overcome a tight race for the Republican nomination to the Senate.
Now, pre-election polls show a close margin between Brooks and fellow Republicans Katie Britt and Mike Durant. News 19's Madison Neal joins us live from the Huntsville Botanical Garden, where the Mo Brooks campaign is having their election night watch party. Madison?
Emily, this Republican Senate race is one that has gotten national media attention. Now, Brooks has admitted to being outfunded by his opponents, but has faith that Alabama Republican voters will see the priority in benefits in his experience. Earlier in the campaign, much of Mo Brooks' competitive focus was on his opponent, Katie Britt, even as he held onto the lead in a couple key polls. But in the time since, he's trailed both Britt and Mike Durant. When we spoke to Brooks after a town hall in February, he pointed out that no matter who has the most funding or poll numbers going into today, he has Washington experience and a conservative record.
I can't compete with the gazillions of dollars that special interest groups are putting in on behalf of Katie Britt, their fellow lobbyist. I can't compete with the $15 million that's been pledged by the far left-wing Lincoln Project that is helping Mike Durant.
And Brooks is hopeful that he will be in the runoff with Britt in the end of this. We'll continue to stay here at Mo Brooks' watch party in Huntsville and bring you the very latest. Reporting live tonight, Madison Neal, News 19.
All right, thank you, Madison. Polling done by News 19, The Hill, and Emerson College last week indicated the Alabama Senate race could be tight, and that means every vote counts.
News 19's Emily Mosner live in Montgomery right now. So, Emily, what have you seen and heard so far tonight where you are?
Yeah, guys, you know, there's a lot of excited people in this room right now. A couple moments ago, a member of Katie's team came out and announced some of those initial results that we've been seeing. So as you can imagine, there were some cheers from the crowd. Now, right now, Britt's husband, her children are in the room talking with supporters who are waiting for her to come out and speak. Now, we've just learned that she's likely to come out and speak to us around 10 o'clock tonight. But, you know, when you are running for office, you can always count on at least one vote, and that is your own vote. So we caught up with Katie earlier today as she made her way to the polls. Again, very early this morning, she voted in Montgomery alongside her husband and two kids. Now, she stopped and talked with media briefly before and after casting a ballot, saying it was surreal to bubble in her own name. She continues to emphasize that she thinks she is the best candidate for the job.
It's an exciting day, and certainly will probably make for a long night, but we are just so proud to be continuing to build off our momentum and look forward to representing the great people of Alabama.
Now, in the event that this does go into a runoff, Britt says she's happy to take on either opposing candidate, either Brooks or Durant. But for now, we are again out here in Montgomery waiting for her to come out and address some of her supporters. I'm going to send it back to you guys in studio. Emily Mosner, News 19.
Mike Durant took an early lead over Britt and Brooks in the polls, but in more recent polling, he's the only one of the three reported to have lost points.
News 19's Kayla Smith is live at Durant's election night party here in Huntsville tonight. Kayla?
The Durant campaign made a splash when early polls showed him leading the U.S. Senate race. Durant's military and business experience made him a popular choice. In the months since, his opponents have criticized his background and his unwillingness to debate. In a poll conducted by News 19, Emerson College in The Hill back at the end of March, Durant had a 10-point lead on his nearest opponent, Katie Britt. In the most recent version of that poll, Durant fell 7 points to second place, polling at 26%. With no candidate polling near 50%, a runoff is likely, possibly between Britt and Durant. However, third-place finisher Brooks has closed the lead between himself and his opponents in recent weeks, challenging Durant for that second spot in a runoff.
If I don't make the runoff, it's absolutely misinformation. I'm confident we will make the runoff because I hear it from the voters all over the state. They see through it. Not all of them, but the majority see through it. But absolutely, I mean, it's pretty clear. I had a double-digit lead before all these false attack ads came out, and that's just not right. Well, that is a very unlikely scenario. However, I would absolutely support Congressman Brooks, because the way the Brit campaign has handled this race, if you're going to be that corrupt in an election, then you're going to be that corrupt in office, and we got enough of that.
So Durant is currently sitting in that third place spot, and he has said that if he doesn't make the runoff, he will support Representative Mo Brooks. So despite that fall in the polls, the mood here tonight is still positive, and Durant says he still believes he has a chance to win tonight. Reporting live from Durant's campaign night party, Kayla Smith, News 19.
Republican candidates all over the country and in Alabama have touted their allegiance to former President Donald Trump.
And as Madison Neal previously reported, Trump's withdrawal of his endorsement for Mo Brooks coincided with Brooks dropping for a time in the polls. News 19 Chief Investigative Reporter Brian Lawson joins us at the decision desk with more. Brian.
Right, so the primary season has seen a number of candidates, though not all of them, who've been endorsed by Trump, winning their races. For Brooks, that's still up in the air, but he has shown that Trump pulling that endorsement wasn't a death knell for his campaign. He's been a bit of a comeback kid in this race. Our latest polling had him even with Mike Durant, and tonight, as you've seen, he's in second place behind Katie Britt with about a 6-point lead over Durant. We'll keep you updated on this really interesting race. Emily, Greg?
All right, thank you, sir. The Republican primary has the eyes of much of the country, and with its winner considered the heavy favorite to become Alabama's next U.S. Senator.
News 19's Jerry Hayes is joined by political analyst Jay Town and David Person in the studio with some insight into this race. Jerry?
All right, Jay, David, you heard what Brian said just a moment ago, and looking at the latest figures right now, Katie Britt with a 45.5% of the votes, Mo Brooks with 28.5%, Mike Durant only about 5 percentage points behind, but let's say this thing goes into a runoff between Katie Britt and Mo Brooks. Will a Donald Trump endorsement help her? Because he pulled his endorsement of Mo Brooks earlier.
Well, I think, look, I don't think the former president coming in and endorsing any candidate is going to hurt that candidate. Not in Alabama, really not anywhere in the country.
Maybe unless it's Georgia.
Well, I don't know that it hurt that candidate. I just think that candidate had flaws that are beyond any kind of repair. Sorry, David Perdue. But I think that if he came in and he endorsed Mo again, that would help Mo. If he endorsed Katie, I think that would be helpful. I think that, the former president does sort of check momentum. And that does help him in his sort of decision making. So that momentum seems to be with Katie Britt tonight.
You know, Jay's a real smart guy, my friend here. But I am going to say, I'm going to disagree with you slightly. I think if the former president were to come in and endorse Mo again, I don't think that would accrue to Mo's benefit. Now, if he came in and endorsed Katie Britt, I think it would accrue to her benefit. Yeah. But I think it would confuse voters and raise a lot of questions because, people don't like inconsistency. And then the other factor is we already know this, Alabamians don't like being told how to vote. So if you've told them once, hey, you need to vote for this guy, then you pull it and then you say, okay, you can vote for him now again. I think a lot of people are going to go, wait a minute, really? But if he does it for Katie Britt, I agree with you. It's probably not going to hurt her.
One of the advantages, Jerry, and I know we're short on time, but one of the advantages it also might be for whoever gets that endorsement, if anyone, would be it would bump their turnout. And that'll be important in a runoff especially. We've seen the low numbers tonight in a normal primary. For a runoff, we might not get 8%.
Let's talk about the Democratic ticket right now because Will Boyd with almost 65%. So he's going to be on the Democratic slate come November if these numbers hold up without a runoff.
Yeah, we anticipated that he was going to win and do well. We weren't exactly sure that he was going to avoid a runoff, but these numbers excite us. We have a lot of confidence in Will and his ability to campaign, his ability to convey the values of not only his own personal values, but we believe that he's going to be able to successfully convey to Alabamians that his values are Alabama values. And so we're excited about the possibility of Will not having a runoff and moving forward to face someone in November.
The numbers hold. The
Get good help too, right, Jerry?
If the numbers hold, Democratic ticket set, but looks like there's going to be a runoff between Mo Brooks and Katie Britt, at least at this point. We'll see how the rest of the night plays out. Guys?
All right, thank you, Jerry. One of the other big races of the night, of course, is the battle for Governor Kay Ivey to keep her seat.
And coming up, we'll have an update on the gubernatorial primaries. I want to give you the latest on the 5th Congressional District right now. This is the seat that Mo Brooks is in now, and he's going to leave because he's running for Senate. Dell Strong with a big lead right now over Casey Ordinsky, John Roberts, and Paul Sanford. 43% Dell Strong there with about half the vote. About half the votes in at that point. We've got some more results I think we're going to show you here. State House District 1, Maurice McCanny, very small numbers there, only 6% of the votes in. Maurice McCanny there, and we'll update that. There'll be plenty more of that coming in. And this is State House District 2. Jason Black, 46% of the vote over Ben Harrison, Kimberly Butler, and Terrence Ireland.
Also looking at State House District 3 Republican primary, Carrie Underwood with 17 votes. At this point, only 4% of the precincts have been reported. Right now, State House District 3 results for the Democratic primary, Wesley Thompson leading by 2 votes. Again, only 4% of the results are in at this point. These results are updating by the minute. We'll have more of them for you when we come back here on North Alabama's CW. But of course, you can find election results on WHNT.com. We'll be right back.
We're keeping an eye on the Republican primary for the governor's race. And Alabama Governor Kay Ivey, elected to a full term in 2018, running for a second term right now. Big lead, 55% of the vote so far for this election cycle. She's facing two primary challenges that have pretty much slammed her campaign, but she appears unwavered by any of it.
Now, the Emerson College poll from News 19 and The Hill as well in the race for governor showed Ivey leading her opponents with a wide margin among likely Republican primary voters. Further proof that her campaign will not be a runoff with tonight's challengers. News 19's Archie Snowden joins us live with a profile of the governor and that race to unseat her in this primary. Archie.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Governor Kay Ivey served as governor since 2013. She previously served as lieutenant governor before assuming the role as governor after the resignation of her predecessor. She's been elected governor in 2018. Now, Governor Ivey, a native of Camden, Alabama, received a bachelor's arts from Auburn University in 1967. She worked as a high school teacher as well as a bank officer before entering full-time politics. She served as a member of the Alabama House of Representatives in 1982. Ivey served as Alabama State Treasurer in 2013 and 2011, and as a lieutenant governor from 2011 to 2017. Her new Alabama law banning certain medical treatments for minors with gender dysphoria has raised questions of late, but Ivey has a strong message for all of her challengers as well as the voters about her campaign.
One of my opponents I don't even know, and I don't think many Alabamians do either. And the other one this will be his third try for the race. So I'm working for the people of Alabama. That's my heart and soul. And my passion is to serve the people of our state and give them opportunity to improve themselves and the quality of life for their families.
As evidenced by the primary results, the controversial ads that she ran had no effect on the run for her in her campaign. Political pundits had predicted that the negative ads run by Blanchard and James would have an effect on her campaign, but she appears to be headed in the clear. For now, we're live in Huntsville. Archie Snowden, News 19.
Thanks so much, Archie. For the first time in 4 decades, Limestone County voters will not see a familiar name on their ballots in the race for sheriff.
6 candidates are vying for the office after longtime Sheriff Mike Blakely was removed from the position. News 19's Christine Killemeyer joins us now in the studio with the latest on this race. Christine.
Emily, Greg, Mike Blakely was in the middle of his 10th term when he was convicted on felony charges last summer. At the time, the state's longest-serving sheriff continuously ran on the Democratic ticket. But now all the focus in Limestone County turns to the Republican side in this race, where 5 names are on that ballot. Joshua McLaughlin is the incumbent. Governor Kay Ivey appointed him sheriff in September of 2021. Fred Sloss retired from the county sheriff's office as chief deputy after 25 years. He's also a military veteran. Eric Redd served in the U.S. Army and is experienced in project management. He had challenged Blakely several times in past elections. Jeffrey Kilpatrick has worked in the sheriff's office for a decade, most recently as an investigator. And Chris Carter retired as an Alabama State Trooper post commander after 25 years. So here's how this race is looking so far. With 96% of precincts reporting, it looks as if McLaughlin is going to walk away with this one, with 60% of the vote being the incumbent. Now, Randy King is also qualified in this race. He's running as an independent, though. He's a retired chief deputy from the Limestone County Sheriff's Office. So it's looking like he will be facing McLaughlin come November. Greg, Emily?
Thanks so much, Christine. Many races with a lot of impacts across North Alabama.
We'll get a closer look at some more of the most notable races and the results for you tonight in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
And we have the latest on the Senate race.
Yeah, Mike Durant is speaking right now to his supporters in Huntsville. Let's take a listen.
When Somalia happened, which was pretty tough on all of us, you told me when it was all over, if you still had the same friends when it was over that you had when it started, then you did all the right things. You remember that? I have integrity. I didn't lie. I didn't sling mud. I tried to run the campaign that people told me they wanted me to run. Honesty and integrity. Somebody you could trust. Somebody you want to go to Washington and try to do something different. And unfortunately, it didn't work. But I don't feel bad about it. I feel better about this than I would have felt if we'd have cheated, lied, and did whatever we had to do to win and won. What we got to fix is how can we prevent this from happening in the future? How can we allow people with zero integrity and unlimited resources to win? I don't know the answer. All I can tell you is maybe, you know, it's sort of similar to what I've thought about Somalia. I mean, it's like, why did it happen? What did God intend for us to learn from that? So what does God intend for us to learn from this? I'm not sure, but maybe we'll move the needle toward integrity. Maybe we'll move the needle toward, we want to elect people that are not there for themselves, that are there to serve the nation, and maybe next time around we'll win. So I ask you not to give up. I ask you not to lose hope, and I appreciate your support. I am one and done. I got my degree. I'll get my diploma whenever they print it, but you won't see me running again, unfortunately. But I'll support anyone out there who I believe has the kind of heart and integrity that I have to try to make a difference for this country, because you can't stand here and complain about what's going on.
And Mike Durant talking to his supporters here in Huntsville tonight, as Emily said, and Durant appears to be going to be a third-place finisher behind Mo Brooks and Katie Britt tonight.
Yeah, citing integrity, saying that he is proud of the campaign that they ran. Unfortunately, he says it didn't work. So we're continuing to follow that. We've got Kayla Smith there at his party, and we'll have more for you a little later. Now, News 19 is your election headquarters. We've been bringing you the latest from candidates in several races all night.
And the primary ballot includes a race for governor, U.S. senator, and there's a crowded field in the race for the 5th congressional district seat. That's the seat that represents Huntsville and much of North Alabama. News 19's Dallas Parker has been following that race and joins us live with the latest. Dallas.
Greg, Emily, the 5th district race this year, of course, is different. 6th-term incumbent Mo Brooks is not in this field this time around, but he is on the ballot, of course, today. We have Madison Neal at his watch party, but voters in this area will be selecting a new congressman for the area. Now, whoever wins the race for the 5th district seat, which could include next month, will be coming to Congress with no experience as an elected official in Washington. I asked Dell Strong and Casey Wardynski, the initial front runners, what challenges they could expect to face if they win this seat. Here's what they have to say.
Well, the big thing you got to do is build relationships. It's exactly what you do on the local spectrum, and it's exactly what we plan on doing when we go to Washington as the next United States Congressman from the 5th Congressional District. You've got to build relationships. The other thing is you've got to listen to the people from your district. That's something that I've always done. I'm a great listener, and taking the voice of the people back to Washington, D.C. is part of what I will be doing for everyone.
Well, our country is going through a lot of change right now, and I've always been a change agent. I think a lot of things need to change in D.C. I saw it up close and personal as Assistant Secretary. I saw it when I was working for secretaries and assistant secretaries when I was in uniform. We have spent way more than our country can afford at the national level. We need to push a lot of the activities that are federal back down to state level, let them manage them, cut a lot of that spending, and I can think of education be way up the list. Other activities would be probably over in Homeland Security. That agency has not performed well. Liberties come under attack from many agencies in Washington. I saw that personally. We need to roll that back and make sure the Bill of Rights is respected, personal liberty is respected. Those are things at the top of voters' agenda, and really that's why I'm running, is because those were the things that matter to people.
Now, Dale Strong, I should add, Dale Strong actually raised the most money in his campaign in this race. Of course, early election results also show he's ahead in the polls. For now, reporting live in Huntsville, I'm Dallas Parker, News 19.
This is a primary update from News 19, your local election headquarters.
Well, the polls are closed. Some results are in. They're trickling in. And News 19 has you covered tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Emily Forrester.
And I'm Greg Screws. We've been tracking the biggest races all night. We've got the updates for you, the latest numbers throughout the state. Let's start with arguably the most noteworthy race. That's the Republican primary for U.S. Senate.
Yeah, News 19 has reporters at the campaign watch parties for all three top candidates. We're looking right now at Katie Britt with 45%, Mo Brooks with 29%, and Mike Durant with 23%. Now, if you were watching on North Alabama's CW just a few minutes ago, we heard Durant speak to some of his supporters at his watch party in Huntsville, seeming to step back, coming in third, it looks like, in the race with 77% of the precincts reporting.
And one of the things that Durant has said, if this holds up and he stays third, that when it gets into the next 3 weeks from the runoff, he will endorse Mo Brooks. The candidates are fighting for the seat currently held by Richard Shelby. Senator Shelby is retiring.
Katie Britt is quite familiar with Shelby as she served as his former chief of staff. Now, News 19's Emily Mosner is live in Montgomery tonight. We are waiting to hear from Britt to see if she's going to speak. We're expecting her to speak here in the next few minutes to her supporters. But,
all right, let's go into this is what happens on election night. We got a lot of folks going to microphones, and they're trying to figure out who's going first. But for now, we're going to go over to Jerry, who's talking to our analysts right now. We'll keep you posted on the others.
All right, Jay Town and David Person will get started, but we may have to break away depending on who comes out and whenever they get ready. Any surprises in what we've seen throughout the course of the evening since the polls closed?
Not for me. I expected Katie Britt to be in the lead. I expected Governor Ivey to be in the lead. I expected my candidate, Will Boyd, to be in the lead. No real surprises for me, Jay.
Yeah, I think that Katie has outperformed all the polling that any of us saw. The highest anybody really was in the 30s at any point, and she is with 70% of the vote in. She has been holding at 45% all night. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big win for her if she's able to stay at that through the rest of the night, because whoever the challenger is in the runoff is not only going to have to turn out all of their votes, but all of the person who didn't make the runoff's votes, and that's going to be a very difficult thing to do when someone is so close to 50%. So that to me has been a surprise in and of itself.
What about in the race for governor on both sides?
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, Governor Ivey is one of the most successful, savvy politicians that we've ever seen in Alabama, in my opinion. So there was no surprise there. Now, on the Democratic side, Ms. Flowers is someone who is not a well-known entity. She doesn't have any real significant name recognition. So it is a surprise to me. She's probably, for me, the one surprise in what I've seen so far, Jay, that she has been able to jump out with this lead and maintain it. Mm-hmm. But we'll see what happens, because it looks like, again, if things continue as they are, she's going to be in a runoff.
Yeah, Kay was not going to lose tonight. She was not going to be defeated. She spent her money wisely in this campaigned wisely. And I think that there's not going to be a runoff in the governor's race. And, we'll have Kay Ivey as our governor for 4 more years in Alabama.
All right. Guys, I appreciate your insight tonight. David's over there.
Yeah, I mean,
Democrat is running. I'm not disagreeing with that.
And I'm not really disagreeing with what you're saying. I mean, I expect us to win at least one statewide race, but I don't know if we're going to win that one. And I'm just being honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us. Well, I'll toss it back over to Greg and Emily.
All right, thank you, Jerry. And again, Jay and David talking about the governor. 55.1% is where the latest thing I've seen, and Emily, you may have something newer than that, but she would have to back up considerably with 67% of the vote in. The interesting thing, and going back up here on the Senate race, Katie Britt is 45.4% right now. So we were talking about this in the break a while ago, is so if Mike Durant, he's going to endorse Mo Brooks. So the thing is, if Katie Britt holds her 45%, she's got to find 5 more %.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Will she do that? And so it would seem that that's going to be pretty tight.
Yeah, it sounds like she is walking in now to speak to her supporters at her watch party in Montgomery. Let's see if we can go ahead and take a listen.
to represent you. You will. I look at all of the people in this room, all of these faces that believed in me, that believed in this journey, that believed in our state when others didn't. And I want you to hear me say, thank you. Yeah. I am so grateful. None of this would be possible without each and every one of you. It is clear tonight that Alabamians want new blood. Yeah. They want someone to go to Washington, D.C. and shake it up. It is clear that they want a true Christian, conservative Republican who believes in the America First agenda and doesn't just talk about it, but knows how to actually get something done. On you. That this public school girl from the Wiregrass would be standing up here leading in the United States Senate race.
All right, what you're seeing there is sometimes what you'll see is at a lot of campaign events, there's a lot of people, a lot of cameras, and a lot of tight spaces. And so sometimes you'll see a camera wander like that. Again, Katie Britt coming out apparently is going to win the primary tonight, saying that she says her success tonight shows that Alabamians want new blood and they want people to shake things. The voters want people to shake things up.
Yeah, let's take a look at some results for the Republican nomination for governor. We got 80% of the vote in, and incumbent Governor Kay Ivey still holding the lead there with 55%. Right now, it looks like she is going to avoid the runoff. Of course, she would need more than 50%. So then we're seeing Lindy Blanchard with 19% and Tim James with 16%. Governor Ivey leading by almost 175,000 votes. Again, 80% of the results are in.
And here's your 5th congressional district right here. Dale Strong, 28,000 votes, a little over 44% of the vote. Casey Wardynski, 23% of the vote. So you have to have 50% plus 1 to avoid a runoff. So we're going to have a runoff here. Dale Strong leading 28,759 votes. And again, 44% of the votes there. And we'll be right back. We got plenty more coverage here on News 19. Welcome back, everyone. So in early polling, Mike Durant took an early lead over his opponents, Katie Britt and Representative Mo Brooks. But in more recent polling, he was one of the three, the only of the three, to reportedly have lost points.
Yeah, we heard him speaking just a few minutes ago at his watch party in Huntsville, and News 19's Kayla Smith is live at that party. Kayla, what's the mood like now?
Well, things are starting to shut down here. Just before 10 o'clock, Mike Durant stood up in front of his supporters here at his watch party and conceded the race for U.S. Senate here in Alabama. He made the point to say that he thought that he and his team had run a fair and very good campaign. Yesterday at an event, Durant said if he did not make the runoff, he would throw his support towards Congressman Mo Brooks. He didn't mention Brooks by name tonight, but he did say that he thought he was a better candidate than Katie Britt. He also made the point to say that he would not be running again in the future. Reporting live in Huntsville, Kayla Smith, News 19.
All right, thank you so much, Kayla. Now, Mo Brooks is hoping to switch positions. The career politician has held an elected position for 40 years.
And meanwhile, his two opponents, Katie Britt, Mike Durant, are touting the fact that they are not career politicians. And I think we've got, we're going to go live to Madison, but yes, Mo Brooks is coming out right now. So let's go listen to what Mo has to say here.
Always a crazy one, broke into the stadium and I wrote your number on the 50-yard line. You were always a perfect one and a value.
Thank you so much for being here. What a great election day. 2 months ago, the experts declared that our campaign was dead in the water. Today, just call me Lazarus. Back from the dead, resurrected by Alabama citizens who figured out who the real MAGA conservative is and voted for America first.
Yeah, we're having some trouble with the audio there.
Yeah, we'll try and tweak that a little bit. Mo Brooks referencing that 2 months ago, the campaigns and the polling did show he was in pretty rough shape. But again, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And he made the joke that you could just call him Lazarus at this point because of the way they've come back. Let's go back to Jerry and David and Jay with more on this particular part of the race.
First of all, let's talk about Mike Durant. Came out, conceded the race, and said he will not be running for office again. And apparently he is going to throw his support before the runoff behind Mo Brooks. Will that be enough to get Mo Brooks where he needs to be to defeat Katie Britt?
I don't think so. I'm not sure that Mike Durant is as politically significant as even the vote turnout showed tonight. I think he has been his campaign was seriously derailed by the allegations of his sister. And so I'd say no.
Let me interrupt you real quickly because we understand that we're going to be going down to Montgomery because Kay Ivey is getting ready to address her supporters. So let's head on down there.
Yeah, proud I am to be here with y'all tonight to celebrate this hard-fought victory. Let me tell you this. We could not have done this. It would not have happened without each and every single one of you here tonight and all of you watching on TV. Your thoughts, your prayers, and your support, and your votes have allowed us to win the Republican primary tonight outright. With all my heart, I thank you. I thank you with all my soul. Y'all have been great supporters, and I am so proud to be your governor. This has been a hard-fought campaign. I appreciate my opponents who wanted to step forward and serve Alabama. and I look forward to working with him to continue moving Alabama forward. Tonight, the people of Alabama spoke loud and clear in support of our conservative record of results, and it's a record I'm sure proud of. But y'all, there's still much more work to do. We're going to continue to grow jobs. We've created 65,000 and still counting. We're going to continue recruiting good businesses to our state. We've seen over $32 billion with a B dollars in new business investments. We have the lowest unemployment rate in the history of our state. And for the past 18 consecutive months, we have had the lowest unemployment rate in the entire Southeast. I'm going to fight every day to continue making Alabama the best state in America to live, work, raise a family, and yes, play football. We know how it's done down here in Sweet Home, Alabama, and we're going to keep at it. Well, tonight we celebrate, but tomorrow it's back to work. Tonight marks the end of one campaign and the beginning of yet another.
All right, so Governor Kay Ivey there declaring victory in the Republican primary for that seat, talking about she's thanking her supporters, but also talking about how she is proud of what she calls her accomplishments since she has been in office, naming lowest unemployment in the history of the state, all the businesses, the new businesses she's recruited to the state, and saying that she will continue to grow jobs in Alabama as well.
And also, she's a football fan.
Yeah, I wrote down football and underlined it on my notes.
Making a point there, I think a lot of Alabama fans will certainly take notice of that. Yeah. There was some other news today. Obviously, we've been doing election. There was some other news, which is just frankly stunning, and it's just makes you want to shake your head and hurt your heart. At least 21 people are dead after a gunman opened fire at a grade school in South Texas. 18 of the victims, students at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. The shooting started shortly after 11:30 a.m. The town is roughly 85 miles west of San Antonio.
Investigators did identify the suspect, naming an 18-year-old high school senior from Uvalde. This does come less than 2 weeks after a gunman shot 10 people, killing those 10 at a Buffalo, New York supermarket. President Joe Biden tonight did address the tragedy after returning to the White House from Japan.
As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When in God's name we do what we all know in our gut needs to be done?
And here at home, Madison City Schools have told us they will have extra police presence at their schools tomorrow, saying they haven't gotten any threats. They're just saying this will be an extra security precaution, and we'll keep you updated as that situation over in Uvalde, Texas does develop. We've got more news for you and more election results coming up after the break.
And it appears the Republican races for the 5th Congressional District and U.S. Senate are likely heading to runoffs.
The votes are still being counted tonight, but we do know the candidates who survive will need to spend more money. News 19's chief investigative reporter Brian Lawson is at the decision desk. Brian.
That's right. So Katie Britt and Mo Brooks had a great night. Dale Strong, Casey Wardynski, same thing. They look like they're on their way to a runoff election, but that means 4 weeks from now, they need to be ready, and in that 4-week span, they're going to have to spend some money. Now, taking a look at both races, Dale Strong has $250,000 cash in hand. Casey Wardynski has $81,000 cash on hand. Both candidates have outstanding loans to their campaign, though, as well. Strong loaned his campaign $190,000 that he's going to have to pay back. Wardynski owes his campaign $128,000. The Senate race, the money's even more interesting. Katie Britt has $2.78 million cash on hand. That's more than $2 million than Mo Brooks, the challenger for this seat. Now, what happens next? Tonight they're going to celebrate. Tomorrow morning they're going to have to get back to work, including fundraising, to get up back on the campaign trail. Emily, Greg?
All right, cubic dollars.
All right, thank you, Brian. A lot of developments for the primary elections here in the last 30 minutes.
So when we come back, we're going to get a last bit of time with our analysts. So stick with us on News 19.
J-Town, David Person still with us, analyzing what we have been seeing throughout the day and this evening. Let's talk real quickly about the Senate race as they head into the runoff, apparently between Katie Britt and Mo Brooks. Katie Britt's bank account a little bit bigger than Mo's at this point by about $2 million. Is that going to make a difference in the races? They've got 3 weeks to campaign.
Absolutely, it's going to make a difference. Money means messaging. And the more messaging she can do to get her voters to turn back out and maybe even expand her voting base, it's going to absolutely matter.
Yeah, I agree. You think of the bandwidth that it would take to raise $2 million and then to try to do it, to just catch up with Katie, if you're Mo, in the next month, if she doesn't raise another dime. It would be Herculean, and very tough after all of these general or primary election to go ahead and just raise that kind of money. So they're going to be relying on PACs very heavily in the next month, both candidates. But you'd certainly rather have 2.6 in the bank than 6.
We've only got about 30 seconds left. Real quickly, let me ask you this: as far as Katie Britt is concerned, we were talking earlier. The people that went to the polls today to vote for Katie Britt went to vote for Katie Britt.
They did, and I think it'll be easier for her to turn those people back out. But Mo has a name that's been around for a long time in Alabama,
Indeed.
So he's a formidable opponent.
Yeah, but he's not statewide. He's not as formidable as he would be in District 5. And so I'm going to say his task is going to be what, Jay? Herculean.
There you go. See, we agree to end the night.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Emily, Greg?
Let's just underline that. They agreed to end the night. I think that's great. I think we got some results here. We're going to look at some results for one last time.
Yeah, we're starting with Republican gubernatorial primary. Again, Kay Ivey, the incumbent governor, has declared victory, it sounds like, tonight with 55%, not looking at a runoff for the Republican nomination.
And Republican, the Senate race right now, Katie Britt basically with 45% of the vote, Mo Brooks 29%, Durant 23%. Durant's not going to make it in the runoff. And the significant thing here is that he has said very clearly he will endorse Mo Brooks as we go here in the next 3 weeks here for this runoff election.
We've got lots more results on WHNT.com and tomorrow morning on News 19. Have a good night.